Gaming machines are popping up in the city of Alice. We find out what the Alice police chief has to say about it, if they're legal or not. Plus,
we hear about job shortages nationwide, but it's being felt right here in our local courts. I'm Michaela Chavez, your neighborhood news reporter in Nueces County. I'll tell you what problem the DA's office is facing right now and how they're planning on solving it.
And let's take a second to look at our SPID Skycam. Traffic flowing pretty smoothly this morning. Of course, we'll have meteorologist Julia Quady standing by with a look at your forecast and a look at your roadways this morning. Folks, it's Tuesday, April 1st. Your Chris 6 Sunrise starts now. Good morning, folks. Welcome to Chris 6 News Sunrise. Thank you so much for starting your day with us. I'm Michelle Hoffman. Brian Hoffman is off, and we have a special surprise for you this morning. Julia Quady is with us at the Weather Center, of course, in for Steph this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for being here.
Of course, of course. I feel like y'all missed me, so I had to come back.
Absolutely. We definitely did. We demanded Julia time.
Well, you got me. But
Thank you.
I ended up, I guess, bringing the fog right along with me.
Ooh.
So we're dealing with some visibility issues just starting off your day. So you just want to make sure you're driving safely heading out the door this morning, especially for areas that are along the coast and for inland portions of the coastal bend. So nearby Robstown down to Kingsville and Alice, looking at around 2 miles or less for your visibility. Heading on over to our coastal neighborhoods, Rockport down to Ingleside, Port Aransas. You guys are looking at around a mile or less for your visibility right now. So just again, make sure you're driving safely heading out the door at this hour. And we do have a dense fog advisory that is currently in place just for areas that are along the coast until 10 o'clock this morning. I know that dense fog advisory is only in place for areas that are along the coast, even though we are looking at poor visibility for inland neighborhoods. But again, just make sure you just apply that logic everywhere, just driving safely heading out the door. Taking a quick look at some of your traffic flow maps here, heading from Portland over to the Harbor Bridge, looking at easy driving conditions right now at this moment. Heading on over towards downtown, looking good on Ocean Drive down to SPID as well as in Saratoga. Moving on over to Flower Bluff, all clear on those roadways, just a bit of a median speed on Waldron Road, and then all clear on the JFK Causeway going to and from the island. More details on that foggy situation and a bit of that muggy situation we're looking at right now in place. My full forecast coming up.
Julia, thank you so much. So we have an update this morning on Daniel Esparza, the man behind 361 grants. He has been moved to a state penitentiary. Esparza is the man at the center of several investigations, including Helping Hands Corpus Christi and No Child Goes Hungry Corpus Christi. Esparza has been moved to the Fabian Dale Dominguez State Jail in South Bexar County after being sentenced to 2 years in prison on October 24th of last year. His projected release date is September 12th. 2026. So Texas certified skill machines are popping up across Alice, but are they legal? Alice neighborhood news reporter Melissa Trevino sat down with Chief of Police there to get the answer, and Chief Eden Garcia says the machines themselves are not illegal. What investigators must determine is whether or not they are games of skill or chance.
We are looking into the legality of it, right? I know there's a gray area when it comes to these types of machines.
Chief Garcia says if investigations determine the games are illegal, the businesses will have a chance to shut the machines down before any criminal charges are filed. Following last week's rainfall, there had been some questions on the recent water level readings at Lake Corpus Christi, and Corpus Christi Water now tells us that a faulty gauge is to blame for the readings. Most of the region saw 2 to 6 inches of rain, but city officials observed what appeared to be a decline in reservoir levels over the weekend. After further investigation, technical field staff with the United States Geological Survey discovered a malfunction with one of the gauges at the Wesley Seal Dam. The equipment has been repaired at the last check, and the readings for Lake Corpus Christi reports 23.7%, while the combined reservoir capacity is at 17.8%. Now let's send it over to meteorologist Julia Quady. She's standing by with a look at your Tuesday forecast. Good morning, Julia.
Hey, good morning. Happy Tuesday. Heading out the door, things are going to be off to a bit of a foggy start with that low visibility in place throughout most portions of Coastal Bend along the coast and for inland areas. Now, that will improve over the next few hours, but what isn't going to improve is those muggy conditions that are already currently in place and will only worsen by this afternoon, especially as we look ahead to our feel-like temperatures increasing towards the 90s and upper 90s in some areas. But let's go ahead right now, go ahead and take a look at our current conditions across the neighborhoods in different parts of Coastal Bend. Here in Corpus Christi, waking up towards those temperatures at 73 degrees, 70 over in Beeville, 71 degrees right now in Port Aransas, 72 in Rockport and Alice. Across the Coastal Bend, looking at fairly calm and light wind speeds right now, but those winds are going to increase later on this afternoon, going upwards around 15 to 20 miles an hour. So enjoy those light wind speeds for this morning right now. But again, with those visibility, we're looking at those being a bit struggling across the Coastal Bend, around 5 miles or less for visibility across most neighborhoods here in the Coastal Bend. So that dense fog advisory is currently in place for areas that are along the coast. That's going to continue to be in place until 10 o'clock this morning. So just make sure heading out the door, you're driving safely, taking it slow to make sure you get to your destination safely this morning. We will start to see some improvement on the front of that visibility later on this morning. Not so much around 7 o'clock in the next hour. We'll still be seeing areas like Refugio, Rockport, Port Aransas, and here in Corpus Christi still somewhat struggling with our visibility still at that hour. But once we start to approach this afternoon, across the majority of the Coastal Bend, all of us will be looking at better visibility values across the area, but still along the coast, we still might struggle ever so slightly throughout the afternoon, just as that sea fog continues to hang on strong. So throughout some coastal neighborhoods, you still might be dealing with some fog still lasting in the area. Now, looking ahead towards our muggy meter here, this is part of the reason why we're dealing with these foggy conditions that we woke up to yesterday and now today. We're seeing our feel-like temperatures as well as our air temperatures and our dew point values matching pretty closely together. That adds towards why we're seeing that foggy situation develop, and that's just going to be the name of the game for us throughout the rest of your work week. Only going to see a change by this weekend with the next cold front that's going to pass on through, giving us below average temperatures, and then also some rain chances as we look ahead towards your Sunday. But for today, we'll be looking at dry, humid conditions in place, mostly cloudy skies as well. Only see our temperatures increasing towards the upper 70s by the midday, and then of course then reaching the 80s by the afternoon. We'll see our temperatures be a slight bit cooler for our afternoon highs today compared to yesterday, just because of that frontal boundary that passed on through late yesterday evening. So we'll see our temperatures somewhat kind of struggle to increase above the upper 80s across most areas in the Coastal Bend, but don't let those temperatures fool you. It's definitely not going to feel like the 80s at all anywhere in the Coastal Bend. We'll still be looking at feel-like temperatures increasing towards the 90s, even the upper 90s in areas like George West and over in Alice and Kingsville, maybe somewhat flirting with the triple digits with your feel-like temperatures by this afternoon. So just make sure you're drinking plenty of water, staying hydrated, because the summertime heat is only going to worsen as we look ahead towards tomorrow and your Wednesday, and then eventually on your Thursday, looking at those air temperatures reaching to the 90s. So then we'll definitely be looking at some neighborhoods seeing those feel-like temperatures reaching the triple digits at that point. But then again, we have a cool down coming in by this weekend with more showers on the way with our next cold front Sunday into next week.
Keeping crime down one scan at a time. I'm Tyree Spoon, your Kingsville neighborhood news reporter, and I'll tell you how this new tech is helping Kingsville PD keep neighbors safe.
Hey, welcome back, folks. 6:11 this Tuesday morning. We're getting our first live look from our Manny Cam. He's in your neighborhood over at the Cooper's Alley L-Head, and you can see just from the view he's providing, we got some sea fog. So, folks, if you are up and headed out the door this morning, make sure you are aware of that for the roadways this morning. 72 degrees outside right now, so we will check in with meteorologist Julia Quady in just a bit. But first, we have news from your neighborhood.
I'm Tyree Spoon, your Kingsville neighborhood news reporter. Some new tech is helping the police department combat crime. I spoke with the lieutenant who showed me how it works and how it's improving the safety for neighbors.
Many who live and work in Kingsville tell Chris 6 News they've noticed crime happening in the city limits.
There's definitely a history of crime downtown.
Kudos Coffee House owner Cyrus Obregon says the crime ranges from cars being stolen to businesses robbed.
Once every year, every couple of years, Miss Yola right here across the street has some issues with kids breaking into her shop and stuff like that. And then I know Oliver's down the street had a break-in about a year or so ago.
Kingsville is also aware. Michael Chavana, a lieutenant with the department, says license plate readers are helping investigators.
Because of that, we were able to pinpoint more or less the individual that was involved and we ended up catching, the Kingsville Police Department ended up catching him with the jewelry.
According to studies, the readers are able to process 2,000 plates per minute with the accuracy rate of 90%. The LPRs, the lieutenant says, can help determine if a vehicle is stolen, find a missing person, or maybe a person of interest.
We just had one that got caught on the highway that was wanted for murder in another state. And because of the LPR systems, one of our officers was able to pick him up and did the traffic stop and took him into custody.
The department plans to add more LPRs on vehicles to keep neighbors here safe.
Knowing that there's cameras other than what the business owners might have in their business would help out a lot. It's a little bit of a security for the business owners, at least mentally, feeling a little bit more comfortable.
The Kingsville police say they will continue to find ways to help their community feel safer. In Kingsville, I'm your neighborhood news reporter, Tyrese Boone, Chris 6 News.
Hey there, good morning, happy Tuesday, and also happy April. We're starting a new month of April here today, but we're off to the same foggy start that we saw yesterday on our Monday. We'll look at some dense fog currently in place for areas that are along the coast and for inland portions here in the coastal bend too. It's going to get into it right now, looking at our current visibility over in Rockport, down to Ingleside, Port Aransas. You guys are all looking at around 2 miles or less for your current visibility. Heading on towards inland neighborhoods like Robstown, Kingsville, and Alice, you guys are looking at around 2 miles or less as well for your visibility right now. So just make sure that heading out the door, you're taking that extra time to drive safely and get your morning started on a safe note. So we do have that dense fog advisory currently in place for areas that are along the coast until 10 o'clock this morning. I know we did see, as we just showed you just a moment ago, we do have some dense fog for inland portions of coastal bend, but right now the dense fog advisory is only currently in place for areas that are along the coast. But just no matter where you encounter that dense fog across the coastal bend, just make sure you take it seriously and drive safe heading out the door this morning. But what else you can expect in your forecast besides that dense fog right now that we're waking up to, and for this week in general, we'll be looking at some hot and muggy conditions lasting for us and really increasing ahead for tomorrow and your Thursday. Strong southeast winds will be coming in later on this afternoon too, going anywhere between 15 up to 20 miles an hour, and maybe even gusting nearby 30 miles an hour by this afternoon. So windy conditions will settle in today and extend throughout the majority of our work week too. And then we'll also have another cold front that's going to pass on through by this weekend, increasing our rain chances ahead for us on our Sunday, maybe a little bit into Monday too, but really right now Sunday looking to be our most promising rain opportunity in the forecast this week. And looking at our current temperatures, I feel like temperatures were off to a muggy and humid start. Temperatures already getting up towards the lower to mid 70s right now. So on the count of all that moisture, that's why we're going to be waking up to a bit of a humid start already for us on this Tuesday. But we'll see by this afternoon and temperatures increasing towards the lower 80s. We'll be under mostly cloudy skies, maybe a couple pockets of sunshine here and there later on this afternoon. But whether we get that sunshine or not, we're still not going to really feel a big cool down currently in place. We'll still be looking at our air temperatures at least reaching towards the lower 80s, but then our feel like temperatures, they'll still be reaching towards the low 90s, maybe the upper 90s for inland neighborhoods. So for today, our heat risk is at a minor stage, so no concerns there for today. But as we look ahead towards an increase in our temperatures towards the 90s for tomorrow and your Thursday, we'll start to see a bit of a moderate risk for heat risk coming into the forecast for inland neighborhoods by tomorrow, and then extending a bit throughout more inland portions of coastal bend by your Thursday as well. So elevated heat risk will be in the forecast just because we'll be looking at higher totals in towards our temperatures ahead for tomorrow and your Wednesday, and then on your Thursday as well, temperatures reaching the upper 90s, of course, for our feel like temperatures as well. So that moisture and humidity, that's going to be the main culprit as to why we'll be dealing with this summer-like heat that is going to be in place in the forecast. But like I noted, we'll have a cold front that's going to pass on through, indicated with that drier air coming back into the forecast by this weekend. So with that drier air coming on in, we'll see a change coming with our forecast, temperatures dropping well below average, and rain chances that will increase beginning on Saturday and then extend towards your Sunday. Now, it's not going to be a washout. It's looking to be that the rain chances will start to come in late on Saturday, then linger in towards your Sunday as well. So we'll just see if we'll hold on to those rain chances. They are kind of dwindling a little bit as we get closer, but right now, still looking like we'll get some rain, some parts of the coastal bend on your Sunday. Looking at your 7-day forecast, windy conditions with summer-like heat that will remain to be in the area throughout our work week. Then, of course, that cold front passing on through, giving us cooler below average temperatures by next week.
Julia, thank you so much. President Trump is taking on ticket prices. Coming up on Sunrise, we talk to Scripps News Group, Joe St. George. He has the latest on one of the president's new executive orders and how it affects you when you buy that next concert ticket. Welcome back, folks. So President Trump signed an executive order that targets price gouging for things like concert tickets. Scripps News Group Deputy Political Director Joe St. George joins us live now this morning. Good morning, Joe. So as you know, price gouging gained attention during Taylor Swift's Eras tour when resale tickets to her shows cost tens of thousands of dollars. Can you break down the details of this executive order and how this is a rare continuation of the Biden administration's efforts?
Right. I think that's, at first, a big part of this story. You know, President Trump is unwinding many things that President Biden did or attempted to do during his one term in office. But this is one area where there's a bit of a continuation. President Biden made it a point during State of the Union addresses, policy speeches, to take on junk fees, and he classified these ticket prices as being part of it. President Trump isn't using that phrase, junk fees, but he is taking on a very similar topic, and that is what you see when you go to purchase tickets these days. One, you see scalpers, bots in many cases, getting the good seats as soon as they drop, and then charging significantly more for them, much more than the artist intended the tickets to be. Kid Rock flanked President Trump as President Trump signed the executive order on Monday. Kid Rock talked about how artists expect one ticket price to be out there for his fans. Sometimes they're shocked that third-party ticket brokers, scalpers are getting significantly more. President Trump directing his Secretary of the Treasury, Attorney General, to use all current federal law to enforce existing laws, to hold scalpers accountable, particularly are they following Internal Revenue Service, IRS guidelines. Conventional thinking is that it's a bit of a grayish black market, so maybe not. Is that a way to crack down on scalpers? And then you have the whole concept of these hidden fees, right? This is frustrating for me. I just bought tickets from my family, thought the price was $40. By the time you're checking out, you're getting close to $200. President Trump's executive order will also be looking at that as well, ways to potentially make things a bit transparent for folks when you're buying tickets online. A report to the president on final recommendations is due within 180 days. We'll see where this thing goes, right? I mean, presidents have talked about changing the ticket industry for years. It's easy to say you're going to do something. It's one thing to actually change it. We'll see if changes in the current state of affairs when it comes to tickets, if that changes anytime soon. Something to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to know, Joe. Well, thank you so much. We will see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right, now taking it outside, looking at our First Community Bank Skycam atop the USS Lexington, you can kind of make view a little bit of those foggy conditions that are plaguing parts of the coastal bend. So just make sure, again, heading out the door, you're driving safe. That fog is even making it a little bit difficult to see the new Harbor Bridge off towards the distance there. So again, just on the account of that fog, drive safely and take your time. But let's go and take a look at those roadways to get a better idea we can expect for your drive heading out the door this morning besides that foggy situation. Right now, heading from Portland over to the Harbor Bridge, you're looking at easy driving times right now with no traffic issues there in sight. Moving down to downtown on Ocean Drive down to SPID as well as in Saratoga. Looking at easy driving conditions there too with no traffic issues or slowdowns happening. Moving on over to Flower Bluff, all clear on Walter Road as well as on Flower Bluff Drive. It's a bit of a median speed leaving and approach the gate at NAS Corpus Christi. Then heading on the JFK Causeway going to and from the island, looking at easy driving times there as well this morning. That's it for Traport. More details of your forecast coming up.
Now, weather on the 6s.
Good morning and welcome on back as we take a live look from our Manny Cam where he is over at the Cooper's Alley L-Head. You can see some of that sea fog developing off towards our coastal waters, pushing its way further inland. That fog is definitely causing an issue for our morning commute, so heading out the door, just make sure you're driving carefully. No matter if you're in an inland neighborhood or along the coast, that fog is affecting a lot of folks across the coastal bend, so just make sure you're keeping that in mind heading those roadways this morning at this point. Speaking of those foggy conditions, let's go ahead and take a look at our current visibility here. We can see right now that fog again isn't impacting just one area in the coastal bend. It's kind of widespread. impacting parts along the coast as well as inland right now. Even though that dense fog advisory is currently just in effect for areas along the coast, just take that in mind, but still just bear witness to what we're seeing, though, as it relates towards those foggy conditions, not really just staying along the coast, the coastline, the coastal bend right now, with that poor visibility around 2 miles or less for inland neighborhoods and coastal neighborhoods at this hour. Again, that dense fog advisory will be in place until 10 o'clock this morning for areas that are along the coast. We will see improvement coming in very shortly as we head towards midday. We'll see an improvement with that dense fog beginning to dissipate, but it'll still linger a little bit for some of areas along the coast, just because that sea fog will still be hanging around our coastal waters later on today. Now, that mugginess and humidity, which is adding to why we're waking up to those foggy conditions, that's going to be why we're waking up to temperatures already towards the low to mid 70s in parts of the coastal bend. That's going to be our temperature across most neighborhoods right now at this hour. But again, going back towards that visibility forecast, we will see things begin to improve a little bit closer towards the 7 o'clock hour for inland neighborhoods, but still areas there along the coast. So Refugio, Rockport, Port Aransas, even here in Corpus Christi, still dealing with that fog impacting our visibility values even around 7 o'clock this morning. But by the time we head towards this afternoon, and surely by 2 o'clock, we'll be looking at better visibility values across the coastal bend, but still lingering a little bit for areas that are a little bit closer towards the coastline. So Rockport and Port Aransas, you guys might just have a bit of a stronger battle and fight for your visibility values to improve, just because that sea fog being closer to your neighborhoods by this afternoon. So looking at that muggy meter too, that's also part of the reason why we'll be experiencing these foggy conditions not only yesterday, but now this morning too. We're still seeing our air temperatures matching pretty closely to where our dew point values are into the the low to mid 70s. So that's what creates that foggy situation and the sea fog that we're waking up to. And that's going to be the name of the game for us throughout the rest of our work week. Also adding towards those very warm and hot temperatures, that's going to make it feel somewhat like summertime for us this week. That's also going to be tied towards those higher dew point values that we will experience this week. But then we'll have a bit of a change up coming in the forecast by this weekend. We'll see dry air come back to the forecast with another cold front that's going to pass on through. That's also going to give us below average temperatures ahead to next week, and some rain chances for us in the forecast this weekend. But for today, we'll be looking at cloudy skies, maybe a couple pockets of sunshine by this afternoon, seeing our temperatures increase towards the 80s by lunchtime. We'll also see our wind speeds begin to pick up as well, going upwards around 15 to 20 miles an hour by this afternoon, introducing those wind gusts that will be pretty strong and last for us throughout the rest of our work week too. Temperatures will be a tiny bit cooler today just because of that frontal boundary that passed through yesterday, but we'll be seeing our air temperatures reaching towards the lower to mid 80s, maybe the upper 80s for inland neighborhoods. But don't let those temperatures fool you, because it's not going to feel that way. With that moisture and humidity that is going to be in our atmosphere, it's going to be feeling like the 90s to upper 90s throughout the coastal bend for our feel like temperatures this afternoon. But look at the summer-like heat that's going to continue throughout our work week and actually increase ahead for tomorrow and your Thursday. Windy conditions will also persist with that cold front passing through this weekend.
From Inauguration Day through mid-March, the Trump administration has imposed 20% tariffs on all Chinese products, 25% tariffs on most Canadian and Mexican goods, and 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum products from all countries. It has forced other governments to respond in a similar way, which could raise prices for you further at home. All is fair in love and war, except trade wars, where the effects on Americans could feel anything but fair.
A lot of these imports that are targeted by our import tariffs are used as inputs in the production of goods that then get exported. So the import tariffs also hurt our exports. And then on top of that, you have the retaliatory tariffs, which are directly targeting our exports. So from both ends, U.S. exporters are getting walloped.
Alex Durante is a senior economist with the Tax Foundation and says the biggest impact could be felt by farmers. In 2024, Canada and China were the U.S.'s second and third largest destinations for ag products. According to the American Farm Bureau Federation, the country's retaliatory tariffs would target nearly $27 billion worth of U.S. ag goods, with the largest impacts on soybeans, beef, and cotton.
Anything that can affect the economy of farms, like this situation we're in now, will likely lead us to see the continued decline in the number of farms in America.
Betty Resnick is an economist with the American Farm Bureau Federation and says despite the fact farmers are several steps removed from grocery stores, the impact could once again land on consumers. Retaliatory tariffs could decrease demand for U.S. goods, impacting production and farmers' bottom lines, increasing prices in stores.
But if we're radically shifting the demand structures for these agricultural products, that is going to take a long time for farmers to adjust to.
Is the administration going to have the same appetite to shovel money, to these farmers to bail them out? And that seems unclear. It's mostly going to be hurting our agricultural sector.
Other areas where the pinch could be felt are in automobiles and energy. Energy is the U.S.'s largest export to Canada, with demand increasing 70% year over year, according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration. Earlier in March, Ontario Premier Doug Ford imposed a 25% surcharge on electricity sent to New York, Minnesota, and Michigan, which he estimated would add around $100 per month to the bills of Americans in those states. He also threatened to shut off electricity entirely should the trade war escalate. Dan Grossman, Scripps News Group, Denver.
All right, now taking it outside, looking at our CCC Skycam over Snoopy's Pier, we can see that fog is causing a bit of a visibility issue throughout parts of the coastal bend. We will see some improvement later on today, but right now, just make sure you take it a bit slow on those roadways and take your time to get to your destinations safely. Let's go and take a look at those traffic maps to get a better idea what you can expect for your drive heading out the door right now at this hour. Hey, we're pulling over to the Harbor Bridge in both directions, looking at a pretty easy drive with no traffic issues heading on the Harbor Bridge. Moving now towards downtown, looking at Ocean Drive down to SPID as well as in Saratoga, looking at easy driving conditions on all those three roadways, thankfully, this morning. Heading on over towards Flower Bluff, all clear on Washington Road as well as on Flower Bluff Drive. It's a bit of a medium speed starting to leave and approach the gate at NAS Corpus Christi, so you may want to keep that in mind if you're heading in that direction. And then heading on the JFK Causeway going to and from the island, you got no traffic issues to be concerned about if you have to head over there in that direction either. That's it for Traport. More details in your forecast coming up.
We hear about job shortages nationwide, but it's being felt right here in our local courts. I'm Michaela Chavez, your neighborhood news reporter in Nueces County. I'll tell you what problem the DA's office is facing right now and how they're planning on solving it.
It's about that time again on the beach. I'm talking about Kemp's Ridley sea turtle nesting season. I'm Erin Holly, your Port Aransas neighborhood news reporter, taking a look at what you can do to help keep this endangered species safe.
Now, say hello to your neighbors. This is your Chris 6 News Sunrise Shoutouts.
Good morning, KRIS 6 Sunrise team. We're students from Hamlin Middle School wishing all our neighbors a good morning. Yeah!
Hey, they have some moves over there. Well, good morning to you two kiddos over at Hamlin Middle School. We hope you guys have a great day as well. Folks, if you want to send us your shout out video, you can also scan the QR code on your screen or head to our website, christv.com.
From Chris 6, this is 20 minutes of non-stop news.
Yes, we are starting our 20 minutes of nonstop news with a live look from our Manny Cam. He's in your neighborhood at the Cooper's Alley L-Head. Taking a look at our Bay Area view, you can see some of the sea fog lingering there. So of course, folks, that means you got to pay attention to those roadways if you plan on heading up and out the door right at this time this morning. Of course, we will check in with meteorologist Julia Quady to see how our forecast is shaping up for the rest of the day. But first, we have some neighborhood news.
The attorney shortage in Nueces County is causing a ripple effect across our community. I'm Michaela Chavez, your neighborhood news reporter at the Nueces County Courthouse. I spoke with District Attorney James Granberry about the issue.
It's been a part of this office's history for a long time.
Granberry is talking about their prosecutor shortage.
We are 12 to 14 lawyers short.
The DA's office has been feeling the shortage more recently.
We tried 2 murder cases in the last couple of weeks. Right now, I think we have 82 murder cases that are pending trial.
And there's a reason behind the shortage.
People come here, they get a few trials under their belt, they look like they're going to blend in well, and then somebody else with a bigger pocketbook comes along and hires them away.
Granberry says it comes down to salary.
If we want a good, safe community, we have to pay for it. And if that means a tax increase on property taxes or wherever the taxes come from, then that may be just all we're left with.
Prosecutors handle all types of trials.
We handled Class B misdemeanors like a first-time DWI to capital murder, which involves the death penalty.
So if there's not enough staffing to trial those who commit crimes, a few things can happen.
There are oftentimes people on bond that get rearrested for new crimes.
The shortage can also affect the trial itself.
Anytime there's a delay, witnesses will die, they'll move, they'll forget.
Because Granberry says the DA's office is where every arrest ultimately winds up.
Because the police can make all the arrests in the world, but if you don't have prosecutors moving the cases through the system, then justice is not served.
Granberry is calling on county commissioners to pay a living wage to his prosecutors in order to stay here for years to come. With your neighborhood news in Nueces County, I'm Michaela Chavez, Chris 6 Sunrise.
Hey there, good morning, happy Tuesday, and happy April. It's the first day of the new month of April for us today, but we're going to be off to the same foggy start that we found ourselves to be in yesterday morning on your Monday. Today again for us on this Tuesday, we do have a dense fog advisory that is currently in place for areas that are along the coast until 10 o'clock this morning, but even though the dense fog advisory is currently in place just for along the coastline of the coastal bend, it's not only the neighborhoods that are nearby the coast that are suffering with those poor visibility values, it's also including some inland neighborhoods. So just anywhere across the coastal bend, you want to make sure you're driving safely, taking your time on those roadways this morning. And part of that moisture and humidity, that's partially the reason why we're experiencing some of that dense fog and daily fog chances that we saw, of course, in the forecast yesterday and now in the forecast today. We're seeing across the coastal bend already off towards a muggy and warm start with those temperatures already reaching towards the lower, towards mid 70s across the area. So already off to a bit of a warm and muggy start here in the coastal bend, and that's going to continue as we head towards this afternoon and throughout the rest of our work week. We'll still be looking at very muggy and humid conditions in place, and that's just going to add towards an increase in our air temperatures and our feel-like temperatures ahead for tomorrow and quite honestly this afternoon too. But we will have some changes coming in the forecast by this weekend with that cold front that's going to pass on through, and it's going to give us two things. We'll see a big dip in our temperatures dropping well below average and have some rain chances coming back to the forecast by the time we look ahead towards your Saturday night going in towards your Sunday. But for this afternoon, we'll see our afternoon high temperatures be a tiny bit cooler today compared to yesterday afternoon just because of that frontal boundary that passed through late yesterday. We'll see a bit of a small cool down ahead for our temperatures, but we're not going to quite feel it on the count of our feel-like temperatures increasing a lot by this afternoon. But high temperatures here in Corpus Christi will be around 84 degrees. Robstown also matching at that air temperature later on this afternoon, and 89 degrees for your high temperature this afternoon over in Alice. But again, it's not going to feel like it. All of us will be well towards the 90s for our feel-like temperatures by this afternoon because of all that moisture and humidity that is currently in place. So we'll see here in Corpus Christi, while our air temperature will be around 84 degrees, it's going to feel like 90 by this afternoon, and going further inland in areas like George West, Alice, Kingsville, as well as Falfurrias, you guys will be looking at feel-like temperatures in towards the upper 90s to maybe even the triple digits. So that heat is going to definitely be felt on the count of that moisture and humidity that we're going to currently have in place, leading towards an increase in heat risk as we look ahead towards tomorrow. Not so much for today, but ahead for tomorrow and for your Thursday, and increase towards that moderate zone for that heat risk in the forecast as we look ahead towards those warmer temperatures reaching towards the 90s for our air temperatures tomorrow and Thursday. But again, rain chances will be coming into the forecast looking ahead towards this weekend, beginning on Saturday night, extending towards your Sunday. That's just going to be thanks to that cold front that's going to pass on through Sunday into, or I should say Saturday into your Sunday, leading towards a big cool down. Our temperatures into the early part of next week, dropping towards the 70s and then eventually the 60s on Monday. So well below average temperatures with isolated showers possible on Sunday.
Now, 6 things to know before you go.
In the 6 things you need to know, HB 3 is expected to be voted on in committee. The bill, which was authored by State Representative Brad Buckley, allows taxpayer funds to be used for private school tuition, homeschooling resources, as well as specialized educational resources. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has made a school choice bill a priority this congressional session after similar proposals failed to pass both the State House and Senate in 2017, 2021, and 2023. Daniel Esparza, the man behind 361 Grants, has been moved to a state penitentiary. Esparza is the man at the center of several investigations, including Helping Hands Corpus Christi and No Child Goes Hungry Corpus Christi. Esparza has been moved to the Fabian Dale Dominguez State Jail after being sentenced to 2 years in prison on October 24th of last year. His projected release date is September 12th, 2026. So the county-wide burn ban for Nueces County has been lifted, including beach bonfires, but it is still important to exercise caution when it comes to any burning activities. Now, before burning, make sure you have a reliable water supply nearby and the right equipment to manage a fire and prevent it from spreading. Avoid burning near anything that could catch fire, including brush, wooden fences, or any structures. All burns must be completely extinguished by nightfall and never leave a fire unattended. Now, Corpus Christi water rain barrels are back in stock, and the barrels collect rooftop runoff from your home's rain gutter. They cost $47 plus tax and hold 55 gallons of water. To purchase one, head on over to the Central Cashiering Center at City Hall, and CCW rain barrels cannot be used for reclaimed water. For more information, call 311. The Gulf Coast Humane Society will be hosting their free drive-through clinic this week. It will take place Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. The clinic is open to anyone on government assistance. The first 50 pets will be accepted and a maximum of 4 pets per car. All animals must either be on a leash or in a carrier. No spay or neuter surgeries will be available, and Gulf Coast Humane Society is located at 3118 Cavanis Parkway. In honor of Lent, Our Lady Perpetual Help is hosting their annual Lenten Fish Fry. The fish fries will take place this Friday and next Friday from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Plates cost $12, and you can choose from fish, shrimp, or a combo plate. You can even get your plate delivered. Now, Our Lady of Perpetual Help is located at 5830 Williams Drive, and all proceeds benefit the Our Lady of Perpetual Help Academy.
All right, now taking it outside, looking at our Skycam over at SPID, you can see those roadways are beginning to get a little bit more busy as folks get their morning started and go ahead and head out the door. Things are moving pretty well either way on SPID at this moment. Let's go and take a look at those other traffic flow maps here to get a better idea what you can expect for your morning drive and your morning commute. Heading from the the JFK Causeway going to and from the island, we can see things are moving pretty well this morning. Heading on over to Flower Bluff, can see a bit of some slowdowns happening throughout portions of Waldron Road as well as on Flower Bluff Drive, and some more slowdowns now extending a little bit as you leave and approach the gate at NAS Corpus Christi. Heading on over to downtown, all clear on Ocean Drive as well as on SPID. We still have our Skycam was moving pretty well, so we can see that being represented on our traffic flow map here as well. All clear on Saratoga, and then taking a last look heading on towards the Harbor Bridge, going to and from the Portland area, looking at easy driving conditions there as well this morning. That's it for your traffic report. More details on your forecast coming up.
This is Veterans in Focus, sponsored by the Heil Law Firm. Battling for justice, winning for the community.
Padre Island has a pretty strong community of veterans who aim to serve their neighborhood. I caught up with Kenneth Ames, the public affairs officer for veteran group American Legion Post 229, also known as the Islander Post. Now, since the group was established in 2023, it's grown to more than 110 members. Their biggest mission is to support veterans and promote educational opportunities.
Part of our mission is to mentor youth, to help with them, with the sense of patriotism and learning what the United States is all about.
And folks, you can join us tonight at 6 o'clock for this week's Veterans in Focus, and I'll show you how you can support its mission at a flavorful event happening this month in your neighborhood.
I'm Erin Holly, your Port Aransas Neighborhood News reporter. I drive these beaches every day, but what I and others who visit the beach need to remember, it's Kemp's Ridley sea turtle nesting season. I went to the Amos Rehabilitation Keep here in Port A to find out how we can all play a part to avoid a turtle disaster. Driving on the beach
protection from any vehicles that are coming. Oftentimes they'll nest in the roadway.
Is pretty common here.
And they'll cross the roadway and nest right at the base of the dunes. So just be super careful when driving on the beach. The slower the better.
But beachgoers also need to be aware of these little guys. I went out to the beach to talk to neighbors about turtle nesting season.
I have heard about how the Kems Ridley turtles, where the mom turtle comes and lays her eggs up by the dunes, and about 6 to 8 weeks later, the babies are born.
That's right. The mother Kemp's Ridley turtle makes its way from the water up to the dunes to lay her eggs. I wanted to find out more about the process, so I headed over to the Amos Rehabilitation Keep in Port Aransas.
So a lot of times people will come up to us when we're excavating the eggs and they ask what happens to them, why are we doing this? And there's a lot of threats that they face on the beach. There's ghost crabs, there's birds, there's coyotes, there's human interaction, there's high tides that can flood the nests out.
Organizations like the ARC take the eggs from the nests to protect them until they're ready to hatch. They stay at the incubation facility at Padre Island National Seashore and are later released back onto the beach after they hatch.
Last year was a record nesting year, so we seem to see more and more turtles on Mustang Island every year.
And I found out that last year, the ARC recorded 25 Kemp's Ridley turtle nesting attempts on Mustang Island. Last year during this time, I caught up with Dr. Donna Shaver of Padre Island National Seashore, and she told me they were having a good nesting year in 2024 as well.
Well, as human beings, we are the steward of wildlife, right? So it's really important that we watch out for endangered species, because if we don't, they could become extinct altogether.
And if you see a nesting mama or turtle tracks in the sand like these ones here, call 1-866-TURTLE-5 as soon as possible to report it. Andrew Orgill from the ARC says you should keep your eye out for Kemp's Ridley sea turtles nesting on the beach. Kemp's Ridley sea turtle nesting season runs until July. In Port Aransas, I'm your neighborhood news reporter Erin Holly, Chris 6 News.
Here's a look at what's trending now. So this right here was not the confrontation one Massachusetts man pictured when he signed up to be a mailman. Ring video shows the man attempting to make a delivery, but that's when a trio of turkeys decided to have a little fun with him and chase him around the yard and to his truck. Now the good news is the mailman wasn't hurt and the package still got delivered. Sometimes those turkeys can be kind of like vicious.
I was about to ask, I mean, this might be a silly question. Are turkeys aggressive? Can they be aggressive?
I feel like they can be in certain situations, but I'm not a turkey expert. So we got to ask
those three
people
there,
who have
they
turkeys.
Were ganging up on him.
I know. Well, that's their territory. Can you blame them?
Okay. Well, I guess he was trespassing.
But he wasn't hurt, right? And they got their packages.
Okay, that's good. Who would have thought turkeys?
Well, chickens too can kind of be funny, but they could also be so loving too. I've seen on TikTok.
It's always on TikTok.
It always is. They have like the cute little farm animal like videos, and they're just adorable, and it makes you want a chicken. And you get eggs.
Oh yes, and those are expensive.
Save
right now.
some money.
So, yeah.
Anyway, though, what's going on with our forecast? I know it's pretty hot today.
Yes, it's already warm and muggy out there, adding to why we're dealing with that dense fog out there, impacting most parts of the coastal bend this morning. So anyone heading out the door right now, you want to make sure you're driving safely, getting your morning started. We do have that dense fog advisory currently in place for areas that are along the coast until 10 o'clock this morning, but we see this dense fog advisory is in place just for along the coastline here in the coastal bend, but we are seeing fog impacting inland portions of the coastal bend as well. So while you do want to mind that dense fog advisory, just keep in mind too that fog is extending beyond the coastline. So you just want to make sure you're being extra careful no matter where you are in the coastal bend on the part of expecting some poor visibility just across the whole coastal bend, around 5 miles of left or less for your visibility right now. So just make sure you're just being careful no matter where you're heading out the door right now. But in terms of that moisture and humidity at play, we can see that looking at our current temperatures already reaching towards the low to mid 70s right now. So that moisture and humidity is already going to be giving us a bit of a warm start, already getting our day started on this Tuesday. Let's go ahead and introduce our star for this morning. We have Winston for our dog walking forecast, ready to get their dog walk started today. Now you got nice conditions to head outside for that dog walk at any point this morning. You just may want to get that done earlier just so you don't have to deal with that heat and humidity beginning to to accumulate and really pick up by the time we head towards this afternoon. So we'll see our temperatures for the most part really stick towards the 70s most of our morning, only increasing towards the lower 80s as we approach lunchtime, looking at mostly cloudy skies as well. Only going to start to see a little bit more extra pockets of sunshine by the later hours this afternoon. And we'll also see our wind speeds begin to gradually pick up, then getting towards around 20 miles an hour by this afternoon too. And we'll be looking at faster wind speeds, not only lasting for us today on this Tuesday, but then extending throughout the majority of our work week too. Now looking at our forecast highs for this afternoon, again, cooler temperatures for us today, ever so slightly, just because of that frontal boundary that passed through yesterday late in the evening. So it's going to give us a bit of a small, ever so small cool down in our temperatures, at least here in Corpus Christi. Only going to have an afternoon high of 84 degrees, as well as Robstown also at that temperature. 86 degrees in Kingsville, 89 in Alice for your high temperature later on this afternoon. But do not let these temperatures fool you, because that's going to be our air temperatures, but it's not going to feel like it by the time we get towards those same afternoon hours. All across the coastal bend, we'll be feeling like the 90s across the area. 90 degrees for your feel-like temperature in Corpus Christi by this afternoon. Going further inland, you could be feeling like the triple digits potentially. So you just want to make sure you're drinking plenty of water and staying hydrated, because this is a type of summertime heat that could lead to dangerous situations, and things will only worsen as we head towards tomorrow and your Wednesday. And on your Thursday, we'll be talking about summer-like heat with temperatures in the 90s, so we'll definitely have feel-like temperatures in the triple digits by then. But thankfully, we'll have some changes coming on the way by this weekend. Cooler temperatures with that next cold front, and rain chances that'll come back to the forecast by our Sunday.
You say thankfully, but we both love the 90s.
I know.
Let's be honest.
I hear from other people, they're like, we want the cold back. So I'm telling you, it's for them, not for me.
Well, we're happy for you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you at noon.